You've got Jared Kushner behind closed doors speaking with members of the House Intelligence Committee. Again, we keep saying it, this is a big deal day. To join the conversation on this day is Jamil Jaffer, director of the Homeland and National Security Law Program at George Mason University. So, Jamil, I want to talk a little bit here about Jared Kushner, about the potential that Paul Manafort, now we are learning, could be on the Hill over the next 48 hours to speak with congressional investigators as well. Congressman Eric Swalwell was on this network this morning talking about all of this. Here's what he says he wants to hear from Jared Kushner.
If it was one person with one tie to Russia and they had forgotten to disclose it, I think there are innocent explanations. But we are seeing a pattern take place. And so that's what we hope to dive into today, to corroborate what Jared Kushner has said or to discredit it through other evidence.
You have previously been senior counsel to the House Intelligence Committee, so take us inside the room. How do you see today, what you heard from Congressman Swalwell, being different than yesterday for Kushner?
Yeah, well, you know, first, obviously, you've got House Intelligence Committee members as opposed to staff yesterday with the Senate Intelligence Committee. So I think it's going to be a lot more intense. I think that having members there is a lot more serious. And of course, while this isn't a formal hearing, you know, whatever Jared Kushner says is part of an ongoing congressional investigation, as it was yesterday. And there are, you know, laws about testifying or even talking to committee investigators in Congress. And so, you know, you saw Jared Kushner being very with his statement yesterday, earlier this week, and clearly he's taking the advice of his lawyers, which is probably a smart move. And we'll see what happens next.
What do you make of Kushner's apparent defense here, that he essentially didn't know any better, got really busy, it was all sort of an innocent accident?
Well, look, I mean, you know, I think he makes a fair point, which is it was a crazy time, certainly for the administration, crazy time for him personally. You know, if you believe his story, you know, he mistakenly submitted the form early. He left out lots of context besides just the Russian context, and he's updated fairly quickly. You know, he did update the fact that he had more context that he had to report, and he's continued to provide more information to his FBI investigators in the context of the security clearance form, and he's now providing information publicly, both to the American public with his statement, and behind closed doors, at least for now, with the House and Senate Intelligence Committees.
Congressman Joaquin Castro has said his line of questioning is going to focus on the Trump campaign's digital operation. That is not something that Kushner talked about a lot in his written testimony, although he was a part of leading that effort during the campaign. In your view, is that a line of questioning worth pursuing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know enough about the concerns about the digital operation. I saw that news, like you mentioned, and I know there's obviously talk about the emails and the revelations that came out during the campaign. But this whole question about whether the Trump campaign was involved with Russian fake news stories, it seems hard to believe. But then again, we're in unprecedented territory here, so I guess we'll see what happens. And certainly, you know what's interesting about these closed-door hearings is, even though the hearings happen behind closed doors, more often than not, stories do come out about what happened behind there. That can be unfortunate, and it's hard to defend yourself when that happens. But we'll see what comes out of today's conversations.
So let me step back just a little bit more broadly, Jamil, because the president, even just this morning, is continuing to call all of this a witch hunt, essentially in defense of Jared Kushner, in defense of his son. Testimony, his interviews here on the Hill. He tweeted about it, actually, if we can pull it up there. He did very well in proving he did not collude with the Russians, the president says. There have been a lot of comparisons in this, right, to how the Clintons tried to discredit Ken Starr back in the 90s. Is this different in your view? Is this situation feeling a little bit differently to you?
Well, I think there's a few things here. One, I think the president's reaction comes out of the fact that he sees this as an effort to discredit his entire presidency, in that if, in fact, there was some issue with the Russians, that it undermines his entire election and therefore his legitimacy for the entire 4 years. So you can understand why he spun up. At the same time, I do think this sort of defensive, sort of throwing elbows reaction is probably the wrong one politically, and I'll tell you why. I mean, if he, you know, the smart play is Bob Mueller's got an investigation going on. He's a very smart guy. We appointed him. He's a special counsel. You talk to him about Russia, and we'll wait till his report comes out. Now, his report could be good or bad for the president, but it's going to be a while before it comes out. Probably makes sense to wait and let that play out and let the story go away and try to focus on your legislative agenda, which isn't happening.
Before I let you go, let me just quickly get you on these comments that the president is making about his attorney general. What should Jeff Sessions do? Can he continue to serve effectively if he does not have the full support of the president, which he clearly does not?
Well, look, it's very hard for any cabinet official to serve effectively when they don't share the full support of the White House. At the same time, look, Jeff Sessions, Rod Rosenstein, Rachel Brand, these are serious people who have been around the legal community and been around Capitol Hill and been around administrations before for a long time. They're serious people, and they deserve a chance to do the right thing. And it's not good when the president's cabinet members have a back and forth. Look, Paul Ryan is right. The president has the absolute right to pick who he wants in his cabinet, but it's not good when there's disconnect, and either they need to solve this problem or, you know, we need to move on. But I think Jeff Sessions is a serious man, and he deserves a chance, along with his team, to be a good attorney general and run a good Justice Department.
Jamil Jaffer, thank you very much for joining us here and for the